Progress podcast. This is your host, Will Safford. Today we have special guest Dante Leon on today. He is a high-level jiu-jitsu competitor, black belt under Vitor Oliveira, fighting for GF Team. And Dante is known as one of the strongest athletes really in the game right now. He's the 170-pound Kasai champion, and he also took first at the IBJJF World No-Gi Championship in 2019. He's a 80cc veteran, and all around, I mean, he's great gi, he's great no-gi, but really he's known for his submission grappling, his no-gi game, and just being a complete beast. So Dante, you've probably seen, if you follow him at all, some of his videos of him strength training. He's got some wild lifts, squatting incredible amounts of weight, deadlifting, bench. He's really into the big three barbell lifts. So today we really want to pick his brain and understand kind of how he works the barbell, the strength training into his jiu-jitsu routine, because it's one thing to be a full-time power lifter and it's another thing to be a full-time grappler. So it should be an interesting conversation we have with Dante. He's very knowledgeable on strength training, so hope you guys enjoy the show. Don't forget, you can also check us out on seekprogress.com. We're on Instagram at seek.progress. We've got a bunch of free resources for you there. We've got a blog full of information on strength and conditioning methods, recovery methods, all different types of things that you can do and implement in your game today to start improving off the mat. We just released the top 5 mobility moves for jiu-jitsu. It's a free ebook that you can download if you go to seekprogress.com. Those 5 mobility moves will really do wonders for you if you just add them in pretty much every day. Definitely before you go do jiu-jitsu. But if you start adding these mobility moves in, what they're going to do is really improve your chances of not getting injured on the jiu-jitsu mat. When your joint ranges of motion are freed up, you move so much better. And better movement equals better jiu-jitsu. So check that out, seekprogress.com. And without further ado, let's get into the next episode of the Order in Progress podcast with Dante Leon. All right, so here we are with Dante Leon, 2019 IBJJF No-Gi World Champion. Dante, how you doing?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm making the best of this situation. Are you? How are you holding up throughout all this?
I've been all right, man. It's here in Ohio in the Midwest. Things are opening up a lot quicker than a lot of other places in the country. Everybody was affected. Everybody was pretty shut down and pushed back by this, but we're getting back to normal now. And, before you know it, we'll be right back on track.
Let's hope, man. I know everyone's itching to get back on the mats. Have you been able to train at all throughout all this?
Yeah, I pretty much trained the whole time because I have mats in my house and I live with people who I train with on the regular. So when we were quarantined and when there was a stay-at-home order, we could still train with each other. And I have a full gym in my garage, like weights and everything like that. So my training has definitely had to change. It might not be as, as many partners and as much intensity, but I have been training the whole time.
Well, that's great, man. And you touched on it. The whole reason I started this podcast was to get people to learn how some of the best grapplers in the world are training off the mat. So, what they're doing for strength and conditioning, things like that. You notoriously are known as being one of the strongest guys for any weight class. And if anyone's been following you, they've seen you do some crazy lifts on your Instagram account and things like that. There's a bunch of videos circulating of you. So before we get into your methods and things like that, can you just explain, why strength training? Why, what do you think is the importance of strength training?
The importance of strength training is that you are making your body stronger just overall. And that doesn't just mean that you can lift more weight or that you can handle more weight, but the stronger you are all around, the longer you're going to be able to take damage in training and tournaments, the longer you're going to be able to continue pushing through things that might be injuries and that might hold certain people down. If you're strong, it's an amazing injury prevention. If you're working out to strengthen your joints, your tendons, your muscles, all your supporting tissues and your connective tissues, if you're working properly, you're basically making yourself harder to kill. You're making yourself harder to be injured. And like with jiu-jitsu, we're cranking on each other's necks and on each other's elbows. There's no reason to do something where we're like snapping into the joint or we're doing something herky-jerky. We're doing things that are like controlled movement, but we're just adding a lot of resistance through weight and different things like that. And that's going to strengthen our bodies. So strong people usually last longer. One of the last things to leave you. It's notorious that when you go down the road with boxers who return, like George Foreman, everybody still has power in their hands. Everybody still has strength. That's one of the last things to leave you. So it's important to keep that in tune. It's important to keep that sharp, and it's important to put emphasis on strength training.
100%, man. I agree. There's that quote, strong people are harder to kill. I agree 100% with that. You just, all around more durable when you're stronger. What about
100%.
for like your actual technique? Do you feel that being stronger helps you in your technique at all? Maybe takedowns or sweeps or anything like that?
Well, always a guy who is explosive and powerful or really, really strong is going to be harder to handle. How you use something technically, that kind of comes down to how you train jiu-jitsu. So if you do things with proper technique, somebody might use their athletic ability to defend it, or their power, their strength, balance, whatever attributes they have to be able to combat your crisp technique. And the strength is what's going to push you through to finish that sweep or to finish that takedown or anything like that. So it's important, man, but the technique does come from jiu-jitsu and studying the game, but it definitely does help if you need that extra push.
Now, tell us about the specific methods that you use for your strength training. You have a very specific program that you follow, right?
Yeah. So I get my program kind of more specific towards me, and it changes throughout the year depending on certain times of the year and certain things I'm trying to accomplish or trying to gain. It's more the conjugate method, which people will associate that with Westside and Louis Simmons. Actually, the guy who writes my program, his name is Burley Hawk. He actually trains over at Westside. But I believe a lot of workout programs implement Westside because Westside's derived from old Soviet and Eastern Bloc training. It's a lot of different concepts kind of into one. And then from there, it's kind of like a really good mock-up that people have taken and made their own programs with. So mine might be a little different than just like a cut and dry West Side conjugate method, but pretty much I do the same split. I do 2 days a week upper body and 2 days a week lower. 1 day on each of those is speed day, so dynamic, and the other day is max effort. So what that means is 1 day you're moving like your main exercise, you're moving heavy weight for probably low reps. And then the other day is you're doing a bunch of sets with low reps, but at a lot of speed with sub maximum weight. So when you do this, you're usually adding resistance such as bands or chains or anything like this. There's hundreds of different exercises you do as a main exercise. And all your accessory exercises are done to strengthen the muscle groups associated with that main exercise. So if we're doing a heavy bench press, let's say we're doing a lot of work on our tris, our delts, biceps, rear lats and traps, as well as more work on the chest. So we're kind of just developing all the muscles that we use to get a stronger push. If we're squatting, we're kind of doing the same thing where we're working on our abs, lower back, glutes, quads, hamstrings. So every workout, we're directly working with our accessory work to strengthen the areas to make our main lift that much better.
Gotcha. So can you explain so take us through a typical leg day. What does that look like?
So if we're doing like leg day, max effort, it all depends. We do different waves and things like that. Sometimes deadlifts are heavier. Sometimes we're doing squats. A lot of times I'm doing squats, or what you see me doing is a box squat. What that does is it just prevents me from getting as sore. It's a lot more work on my glutes and my hamstrings as I have to sit all the way back and fully stop on a box that's at parallel. So it is a little bit harder, I think, than a regular squat. But I mean, anybody who's ever worked out in their life knows regular squats suck. If you do them heavy, you just hurt for a really long time, like really deep in your legs and your ass. And at the same time, I'm trying to be a better athlete in jiu-jitsu. I'm not trying to be a power lifter or anything. So I'm going to modify my training that it can make my jiu-jitsu better, right? So I'll do a heavy set on the box squat. It's either going to be 1 rep, 2 reps, 3 reps, maybe sometimes 5 reps if Burley really wants to put me to hell and back. But usually it's something low rep, quite heavy. I'm always changing the bar. I'm using different bars, whether it's a camber bar, safety squat bar, front squat, all kinds of different things like this. So that'll be my main exercise. I don't come in the gym and warm up too much. I might do like a little warm up and then I just start going. I don't want to waste any energy. I want to go from like 0 to heavy as fuck as quick as I can. So I do that. And then I go through my accessory work, and my accessory work is where the volume comes in. So what my goal is in the workout, let's say it's a top set of 2. I don't want to do like 135, 195, 225 and go all the way up like this. I want to like know what I can lift and make my jumps accordingly to keep my energy. Then once I get to accessory work, if I'm doing pause squats for like, let's say 4 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 4, something like this, there's all kinds of different variations with the reps and set scheme. That's when I'm working on my legs. So that's when you'll see me work more like a bodybuilder. That's when you'll see me doing hamstring curls, squats, kettlebell swings. Reverse hypers is definitely a big one. Abs. So you'll see me doing more like a bodybuilder type workout to build that muscle up.
So you're basically going in there and you're building a workout around one main lift. And that main lift, you're keeping the 1, maybe sometimes to 5 rep range, really focusing in on heavyweight, trying to build that strength and power quality. And then how you're doing roughly like 5 sets of that.
So it depends how long it takes me to get there. Everything kind of depends on the day. So the big thing about max effort, like we're talking about max effort right now, the big thing is that you're honest with yourself about how you feel on the day. So, you know, your max squat might be 405, but today it's just not going to happen. You can't get frustrated and try and go for 405 and hurt yourself or just fail. You know what I mean?
Right.
Every day is different. So when we're saying max effort, I don't really take what everybody talks about PRs into consideration because, you know, every day is different. I'm training jiu-jitsu, so I'm going to go like train super hard. I'm going to like go through the ringer with my training partners and everything. Then I'm going to come home, rest, eat, and then I'm going to go lift, or I'm going to lift at night. So I'm obviously the lift is not where I'm 110%. So I take that into consideration. I just try and get from 0 to 100% pretty much as quick as I can. The reason being is I just don't want to waste energy. So some days I make these big jumps, like I just keep putting plate on after plate until I get to where it's heavy. Some days it takes me a while. Some days I'm like staying at one plate for 2 or 3 reps just to find like where I feel good. My body might be a little sore. So I just take everything day by day as far as the main exercise goes.
Yeah, I feel a lot of working out, especially when you are balancing jiu-jitsu training with it, is a lot about feel. You know, you can't, this mentality of just going like foot on the gas all the time, that's just going to lead to injury and burnout. So
100%.
I guess my next question is like, you know, you train with the GF team guys, and you guys are known as being just a bunch of complete animals. So how do you balance, you know, your energy? Like, so when you do, let's say you do a max effort workout, you're also training jiu-jitsu earlier that day. Is that it for the day? Or what is your, like, how do you balance jiu-jitsu and strength training?
So I'll probably like do my strength training 4 times a week. Then I'm going to teach classes, and then I'm probably going to do some specific training and drilling at night. So I do a lot of training. My training volume is very, very high. And that's not kind of including like other little extras that you do throughout the day and studying and things like this. So my training volume is pretty high. I don't really feel that lifting up to like a heavy double or a heavy triple or a heavy single is what kills you. What I feel kills you is the volume. So that's the thing that you really have to be careful about and be honest with is the volume. Things that say like 5 sets of 5 and 4 sets of 12. And this is the shit that kills you. Like this is the shit that makes you really, really sore. And that's the shit that makes your muscle grow. If you think that you're just going to do heavy triples on everything and you're going to get huge, you're not. That doesn't build muscle. Builds strength, destroys your nervous system and all this other kind of stuff, but it does not make you bigger. It doesn't make your muscle specifically stronger. The things that do that is the volume work. So the volume work is what I pay attention to. If I get done my main exercise and I'm like on squats, I'm obviously going to back the volume down, especially if it's competition season. Off season, like during this quarantine was cool because no competitions are coming up. So we could just like lift like crazy and feel like bodybuilders. It was fun. Something different for the training, but volume is usually what kills people. That's why you see some people doing jiu-jitsu and then they take that movement that they do in jiu-jitsu and then they take it into the weight room, which is just, it doesn't make sense. Why are you going to do hours and hours and hours of all this same thing? You think you're making yourself stronger. You think you're making your jiu-jitsu movement stronger, but you're just adding more volume and more stress. You know what I mean? Track athletes, like track athletes that run on the track and do their races and then they run in training and then they run for cardio and they run. That's a ton of pounding on the knees and hips and a lot of volume. So the training volume is what needs to be adjusted. If you want to get, I want to gain some weight, I want to get bigger, you got to up your volume. If you want to kind of just maintain, you adjust your volume.
Yeah. That all makes sense, man. I think one thing that people don't realize, when they see you training, you have a very specific goal, and that is like to be strong. And especially when you're managing weight classes, right? It's not like you can go in because you carry a lot of muscle, but you also need to worry about with that training, not just the over or the volume, not just the overtraining and the soreness, but like maybe getting too heavy for your weight class too. So training in the 1 to 3 rep range is going to help with that, right?
Yeah, especially with that, because it's a better gauge of your strength, and that's a better way to gauge your strength instead of doing like as heavy as you can do for 10 reps is going to suck, or 8 reps or something like this. That's volume work. That's when you're using weight that you can manage to build your muscle. When you're doing this max effort, you're doing like low reps. And the reason is because 1, it's not going to build a whole lot of muscle like crazy. And 2, it's a better gauge of like how strong you are. It's really hard to gauge like how strong are you? What's your 1 rep max? Well, I benched 225 for 25 reps. Well, who's going to know what you should use for 2 reps or 3 reps? Right. When you have like a bigger scheme of like things that you've used, like in volume, when it's volume days, I'm doing sets sometimes of 30. I'm doing sets sometimes of 50. I'm doing sets sometimes for 2 minutes straight. It all kind of depends on the exercise and what I'm doing. But when it's a main exercise, I'm going to keep my reps as low as I can.
Now, the second day, not the max effort day. Can you dynamic? What does that look like?
So dynamic an easy way to kind of describe it is I'm going to do a lot of sets, low reps as fast as I can. I'm going to be super explosive. So I'm going to move the weight that I'm using like it's max effort. Max effort, it moves really slow through the air, and dynamic effort, there should be no lag. It should be going quick. They do it down to percentages, like, we'll take 50% of your bench and then we'll put bands on it. There's different things like that. So I do on dynamic days, I use a lot of band tension, which are like those resistance bands. You see Rogue and Titan Fitness, like a lot of these different fitness companies, big into them. I use those because they're going to lower you to the box and the box squat or down to your chest faster than the weight would. Because at the top, it's where it's its heaviest. And when it comes up, it's going from light to heavy. And you're just trying to move the bar as fast as you can. So for example, if you were to do, let's say like a max effort, excuse me, box squat of 2 reps, you would do dynamic effort for 10 sets of 2 reps, or
At a
12 sets
lower
of 2
weight.
reps, or 8 sets of 3 at a lower weight, like no more than 60% of like what you're doing on heavy days, maybe even 35 or 50%. We can always change it. You always play with it. You just I leave that up to the guy who's programming my workout per se, and we're putting bands on there to add tension, and we're trying to go through those sets quick. We don't have a lot of like break time. If I have partners with me, I want to be cycling through, like if I get out, you're coming in, and vice versa. And we're just trying to get through it as quick as we can. And then once again, we go into our accessory work after that.
So it sounds like you're really developing power. I mean, this is the whole idea of powerlifting, right? So power is strength times speed. So on the max effort day, you're working the strength side of that equation. On the dynamic effort, you're working the speed side of the equation.
Exactly. You're moving your sub maximum weight as fast and as powerful as you can. So when you're moving your max effort, it's going really slow. If you see somebody lift something that's heavy and it looks like it's not going anywhere, they're shaking, it's moving slow. Oh, they get it, and it's a grind. It's like a grinder, you know what I mean? So with that, you're working like that slow kind of like diesel power where you just like pushing through something, you're just driving up off something. And then when you're using dynamic effort, you should be just flying through the air. You should be using that same force, but you're just flying.
Gotcha. So if someone wanted to start incorporating this, where would they go? You have a product coming out soon, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to do a video with BJJ Fanatics on lifting, different styles, kind of what I believe in. I know that in jiu-jitsu, this isn't all that common as somebody to talk about lifting and strength training as much as I have, or to be known for it as much as I have. But I believe if you look across the board at all other sports and you look at college programs that produce the best athletes, some of the best athletes on the planet, they're doing shit like this. So I think it's time that if we want to get professional and we want to be a sport that gets paid, that we get on it too. And so I think it's really important. Besides my DVD, you got to go out there, you got to study. Yeah, I think it's a great thing to do during this quarantine. If you don't have like weights in your house, I'm fortunate enough to have the gym right at home, but if you don't have something like that, I think you have to educate yourself, man. I think you really need to study this kind of thing. See what's for you with these different programs. I'm not saying my program's for everybody. What I am saying though is that there's some theories and there's some concepts there that almost every workout program uses. So I do believe that there is something there for everybody. I'm not saying my program is the one and done. It's the real deal. I've tried a lot of shit in my time. I've been lifting since I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I've tried a lot of different programs, a lot of different styles, kind of all across the board. And I've studied and went around, and this is the one I found that works best for me.
Awesome, man. So, well, that itself is great advice. It's not one size fits all, right? It's got to be a match for you.
100%. Yep.
Well, let's switch it up now. So how do you do your energy system training? Are you getting that just from like your cardio training, your strength endurance? Is that just from being on the mat, or do you have a different session for that?
Well, with working out, when you're doing these volume and these large sets, and you can do drop sets and things like that, you are working on your muscle endurance and how long you can go and develop your your lactic acid threshold, like how much it can burn and how much your legs can like hurt and feel weak, and you're going to keep going. You're going to keep pushing and pumping your legs and using your muscles. So that's definitely something that's kind of like a cardio, is kind of an endurance thing, and it's more muscle specific. As far as like gas cardio, there's a lot of different things you can do. I don't try and do that like 100 times out of the year, like 100% of the year. I'm not trying to do it all year round. Reason being, because it's like hard. Running's hard on your lungs. Doing more jiu-jitsu specific things outside jiu-jitsu just to make yourself tired is hard on your body, man. This stuff is hard. You see the injuries that people get from doing jiu-jitsu. So I'd rather prevent myself from getting injuries than just trying to have like 1% better cardio. I'd rather get better at jiu-jitsu and stronger on the mats than, risk 1% to potentially hurt myself, potentially put myself in danger of injury. So it is something I do, but it's something I keep more specific towards larger events.
A lot of that stuff, the different energy systems that you need for jiu-jitsu, you're getting that when you're actually rolling jiu-jitsu and you're training jiu-jitsu. What you can't
There's a lot of ways to challenge yourself when you're
Yeah.
training. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could just adjust your training and constantly, the one thing that we were talking about with lifting that we don't have in jiu-jitsu is a program. And I say this all the time, like it used to be like, what's the program to get good at jiu-jitsu? Nobody has like a thing to tell you about what you should do. Nobody really tells you like, hey, you need to do this, 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 and this. You need to train A, B, C, D. No one even has like a belief of like a thing about it. It's just you just show up to the gym and we beat the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? We go hard as shit 5-6 days a week. We train twice a day, but nobody has like this set program. Like, no, this is how I train. This is how we train.
It's an interesting thought. Do you mean like aside from technique, also like, okay, you're going to work, like go for this amount of time with this amount of breaks, really getting like specific like
something
that?
like this, where we're like, we're judging how our bodies are like, and we're paying close attention to how so-and-so like different people are feeling. I think it's starting to come around now that we have bigger teams and now that we have people who are specifically coaches dedicated to their athletes and their students. I think it's starting to get a little better. But for the longest time, jiu-jitsu did not have a program or a theory behind its training. Show up, train super hard, good things are going to happen. If you're good, you know what I mean? You'll go to the tournament and you'll win, which is true, which is cool, which is the base of any success is hard work. But you got to have something. Like you got to have like a goal in mind. You got to see something.
100%. It's funny. Like some places are like, all right, Wednesday is our easy day where you only train one session per day. But, when you're in a room with a bunch of guys who are hungry to win, it's really hard to prevent yourself from like, keeping your foot on the gas. It's up to the coach to be like, guys, we're only going, 75% today. Today is like a deload day, but yeah, I think jiu-jitsu is getting there. I mean, the UFC is just starting to get there, so, and we're behind the UFC. So
it's the truth, man. I mean, this sport's young, so we have to understand that about it. But the thing is that we can't just keep going free spirit and balls to the walls with, no sense of direction. We have to have some kind of plan in place, some kind of thing in place where we're changing our training. We're changing the kind of training that we're doing throughout the year to one, keep it cool and keep it fun. That's one thing. That if you're doing the same thing all the time, you're not going to want to do it anymore. And you're going to get stagnant. It's going to get old. So you always got to change your training up. You always got to update it and try different things.
Now, what do you do for recovery with all this, work that you're doing? Do you do anything to balance it out?
Outside of things like, massages and kind of like moving around, yoga type stuff, which I've honestly only started doing in the last like week or something since the quarantine started. But I think the biggest thing for recovery, I'm gonna say sleep, but quarantine like destroys your sleep cycle. So it's been a little tough, but now that things were getting back to normal this last couple of weeks has been a lot better. But food is the biggest thing. I mean, food is the biggest thing about recovery. People don't understand how much you have to eat. If you're lifting and you're training jiu-jitsu 1, 2, 3 times a day, you have no idea the amount of calories that you burn. You have no idea the amount of calories that somebody your age is just burning, sitting on their ass. So you have to eat a lot of food. I didn't say it all has to be like the best, healthiest food ever. I didn't say that. I'm not saying you got to eat McDonald's every day either, but you got to eat, man. You got to eat a lot. Your body needs to be nourished. Your body needs to be fueled. Even if you got a little more in your tank than you probably should, it ain't such a bad thing. And you'll start to figure out how much you can eat and keep down really quick. But people just don't understand how much food you really have to eat if you want to fuel these crazy training sessions.
100%. I mean, if you want to get the most out of your training too, it's got to be a fully encompassed program where you're dialed in on sleep, nutrition, the flexibility, the strength training, because you could just be spinning your wheels, right? You're going and you're doing the strength
100%.
training, but you're not going to get the most out of it if you're not have everything dialed in.
For sure. If you're not taking like the necessary steps all around, then none of them are going to work right. If you're not bringing them together the right way, then none of them are going to work properly. They're not going to fit in with each other. So
now, what about supplements? Or do you recommend any?
Honestly, I don't think you should take a whole lot of supplements. I think you should try and get the majority of your nutrition and everything through food. I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer that food it works better. If you want to gain weight, you wouldn't be drinking protein shakes and eating fucking milkshakes and things like this. I think you should be eating real food. If you want to cut weight, you should be eating real food. I'm a big believer in that. But if I do use any supplements, I believe the only ones I have used like a lot of different things in the past. And I just didn't feel the effectiveness of certain things like BCAAs and things like this. But every once in a while, I will use creatine. I do feel it does keep me a little fuller in my muscles, feeling good. Creatine is one that I have to be careful of with weight gain. Creatine monohydrate is going to help you. Going to hold probably 5 to 8 pounds of water weight, depending on your body. So I know it does that to me when I'm getting close to fight time. I definitely have to draw it back, or definitely have to control my intake of it. Protein powder is another good one. Before bed, early in the morning, something like this. It's always something that everybody could use. Everybody gets pressed for time and is forced out of the house before they got time to cook. So good to slam a protein shake back, something quick like this, and go on with your day. So that's definitely another one. Other than that, really nothing, man. I'm a big caffeine guy. You got pre-workout and it's got caffeine in it, then I want a scoop. I drink a lot of coffee, drink some Bang Energies. I know this stuff's probably terrible, but caffeine's a big one, man. I think caffeine's great.
Oh, caffeine's the best, man. I wouldn't survive without caffeine.
You need some caffeine, man. You got to control, but the thing is, you got to control your intake of it, just like anything. Because the problem is that you drink those Bangs and they taste good and they give you a nice little caffeine buzz, but then you start slamming them back and they stop doing shit to you. You know what I mean? And once you go down the path to drinking like 2 or 3, like now you've entered video gamer world where you're probably gonna have something happen.
Man, I didn't realize how bad my caffeine addiction was until this quarantine started, because I was just slamming caffeine all day. But when you're training jiu-jitsu and you're out and about, you're kind of wearing it off. When you're just staying at home, I was just like buzzed all day, and then I couldn't fall asleep at night. So I had to cut back hard on the caffeine because, like you said, to me, I think sleep is like one of the most important aspects of a training program. And if your sleep is getting messed up from your caffeine intake, then you're doing yourself a disservice there.
That's 100% truth. But the one thing about sleep that not a lot of people talk about is not everybody's in like a perfect situation to get that full 8 hours of sleep. Like people have kids and people have jobs and people have things that they have to do. I got to get up at 7 and teach a guy that's private. I got to get up at 8 to train. Well, I didn't stop training at 10 till 10:30 today. So now I have to eat. How do you expect me to relax and go to sleep? I just finished fucking training and eating. Now I don't get to sleep till like 1:30, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things that nobody really talks about it's kind of out of your control. These are, you need to get sleep. Well, it's hard to sleep sometimes. People have trouble falling asleep depending on what they've eaten in the day, what they drank,
Yeah.
their 15 coffees that they had or whatever. People might have made some poor decisions that way, but you end up, it's 2 a.m. and you're just getting to bed and you got to be up at 8. Is that enough sleep? A lot of people tell you no, so that's why food is the one that you can't lose that. You can't miss meals. You can't miss drink your water and your hydration that you need to have. You can't miss it. Can't miss it. There's no excuse. You had to get up at 8 anyway. If you got 4 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep, your day has to start. So
that's a great point, man, because you could just make it that much worse, your day that much worse, if you start eating shit food. So
yeah, well, if you woke up and you're like, I feel like shit, I'm going to keep my bad attitude and I feel like shit, like, you get when you don't get enough sleep, and then your day's a fucking wash, where
right.
if you just had not enough sleep, but you did everything else, you'll be fine. Trust me. Like, you're not going to tear your bicep off the bone because you only got 5 hours of sleep compared to 9.
Right.
Even if you stayed up and only got an hour of sleep, you're not going to like break your neck because of it if you did everything else properly. You might not be in 100% the best place, but you do everything else right, you can still have a very effective training day. And I bet you if you only got 4 hours of sleep, you're going to be looking forward to getting 8 or 7 or 10 the next night.
Yep. That's great stuff, man. Final question. I remember I was at Kasai one time in New York City, and you were competing, and I saw you in the back, and you had this ring, plastic dome ring thing on your head before you went and competed. What was that thing?
That was this.
Oh, that was just your headphones?
That's my headphones, man. I wear my headphones like that. I put them on my head like this.
No.
And I wear them around.
You weren't wearing some kind of
I'm telling you, man. That's what I do. I wear them like Cyclops so I can pretend like I'm shooting people with my lasers.
I don't know, man. I think there was some kind of like brains.
No, bro. I swear it was my headphones. Everybody's like, everybody asked me like something about that. Because usually people kind of flip them up on their head and wear the strap backwards.
Yeah.
They'll kind of roll them back.
Yeah.
So I flip mine forward with the writing on the front, like right over my eyebrows. So yeah, my headphones.
Oh man, I thought it was some kind of like brain relaxation device or. All right.
No, man.
There's your headphones. Well, Dante, this has been awesome, man. A ton of good info. Really appreciate it, man. Tell us where, when can we see you on the mats again? What's the future look like for you?
Oh, this Saturday, competing at Fight to Win against Johnny Tama in Dallas, Texas. No spectators for now, so everybody's got to run over to Flow Grappling and check it out. It's a good card on that one. I think Gabby and Kendall are fighting in the main event. That's a huge fight. And Lucas Valente and Mateus Gabriel, another big one. So I think Tackett is on the card too. I think he just got added yesterday. Justin Rennick.
He competes a ton, that guy. He was just competed last week, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's a monster. Yeah, he's a monster, man, for sure. And that Justin Rennick guy is no slouch either. He's really, really tough. So cool to see that one. It's cool, man. I mean, we're getting a ton of good fights. We're getting spoiled as fans out there, man. Not a lot of people can really do jiu-jitsu when these events came back. It came back May 15th. Mm-hmm. Pretty much everybody was still stuck indoors, but it's so awesome that we can watch these awesome fights right now. So big ups to Seth and the Fight to Win guys and all you guys at Flow, man.
Right on, man. Well, can't wait to see you out there again. And thank you so much for the info, man. This was great.
Oh, yeah. All right. I hope whoever sees it kind of doesn't think I'm a power lifter or a bodybuilder and thinks I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. So, the main thing about lifting, main thing about working out is you're trying to get stronger for jiu-jitsu.
That's it. All right, brother. Take care, man.
All right, bro. We'll see ya.
So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Dante Leon. As you can see, he's super knowledgeable on strength and conditioning. Seriously, go to his Instagram, Dante Leon BJJ, and check out. He just posted like 5 or 6 videos of him strength training in his home gym, and they're just super inspiring. Bunch of awesome videos of him squatting, deadlifting, showing some of the methods that he was talking about in the show. So be sure to check him out. Also, he's coming out in a few weeks with a strength and conditioning instructional video on BJJ Fanatic. So we'll be sure to pick that up. And then also he's fighting on the next Fight to Win card on Flow Grappling. So you can also watch him there as well. If you guys want to get into strength training right now, we at Order in Progress have a strength ebook that you can purchase. It's $20 and it's a done for you program, laid out strength training program that is very similar to the methods that Dante was speaking about in the podcast. It's really sticking between that 1 to 5 rep range, and it's got everything laid out for you as far as the exercises, reps, sets, all those types of things. So the goal in that program is really to get as strong as possible without putting on any size. So again, like I was saying in the podcast, you have to worry about your weight and your weight class in jiu-jitsu. This program is designed to make you as strong as possible without putting on any size. So if you guys want to check that out, go to seekprogress.com. And as always, you can follow us on Instagram at seek.progress. And we're also on YouTube on Order in Progress. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.